Hey travelers, Brian Von Vier here, your favorite voice actor and narrator from Ohio. How are y'all doing out there today? Hopefully you're doing pretty darn good. Make sure to tuck in, get some water ready, and some snackies because we have got another doozy. What were your experiences with fire in D&D and how did it end badly? Part 1. One of my consistent players in my years of being a DM has an affinity with fire despite of an aversion to it IRL. She commonly uses spellcasters and will have at least 2 to 3 fire-based abilities on hand. She has, so far, walled off an entire large group of bandits and a fellow party member with a wall of fire, set fire to the house the party was sheltering in from both a harsh blizzard and the rising undead transmuted from snow, nearly roasting the same player again and poor lizard familiar. Managed to kill and cook an entire rock, gigantic bird of prey, for both food for the party and to sell off later. Found it a handy way to take care of my bent rusty spoon golem. Found out it was a great way to spread a forest fire in the woodlands of the Margrave, causing a treant to run off screaming and on fire. This treant spread the fires further, and the southeast of the forest went ablaze, killing countless wildlife and roasting the body of a frogman merchant the party robbed blind. If you had any experiences with fire that either went well or poorly, please do share the tales of mankind's greatest frenemy. I've been DMing a homebrew campaign. The party had snuck up on an evil orc encampment with an idea to set fire to their mud huts. The rogue and sorcerer snuck on ahead, with the sorcerer giving some of his most expensive scroll paper to the rogue to help him set fire to the hut. The rogue took the paper, set fire to it, then took out an unlit torch from his backpack and used the expensive scroll paper to light the torch. One of my players is an ASMR shaman with the Flame Spirit subclass. He has used metamagic to min-max the shit out of his fireball spell, and before he got that, he used lots of other fire spells. He is a menace and an absurd damage dealer who has quickly killed a boss almost as many times as he's nearly blown up the entire party. It's more of a problem for me as the DM, because I have to buff the HP of many enemies so they don't get one shot. This was my first character. We were in a town being ravaged by man-eating locusts, and it was the player's job to find out what was happening and stop it. The specifics aren't important for the story. All you need to know is that we had like 3 to 4 spellcasters, 2 of which were wizards. Anyways, after the first session where we met the big bad evil guy by draining an entire lake at level 1, one of the characters started to worship the big bad evil guy. At one point later down the line, we found a local shop owner was part of a cult. We burnt it down, with one of the wizards using burning hands. Then later on in the story, we climbed into a temple and started poking around, and we found silver paint and a circle that would teleport us to another similarly drawn circle. Now, before I tell you what happens, I need to say 2 things. Number 1, I was playing an undead rogue with 7 hit points. Number 2, I absolutely hated another one of the players for in and out of game reasons, one of which was cheating with her rolls. So now that it's said, me and her get into a squabble about the circle and what to do with it. And we didn't notice one of the other players changing it. I went in first to see what was on the other side, and she went in after to kill me. And, my friends, guess where it teleported me? Option A, the bottom of the lake we drained. Option B, the final boss's chamber. Or option C, the burning shop. If you were the lucky ones that guessed option C, ding ding ding, you get a prize, and now you know how my first character died. Because after that, we were in a burning building where my character had to make a dex save to avoid 26 fire damage. And a save would be half. I would need a nat 20 to survive, and I didn't roll it, so my character was dead. I made the save, but because my character was undead, so we said he couldn't make death saving throws. And that is how my first character died. Tragically, and also tricking someone to die with him. The other person didn't make it either, so at least I took someone with me. We got a new party member who is in a cave alongside one of our NPC companions. We go into that cave they're being held in, fighting our way through zombies and guards. Why zombies and guards? That's a story for another time. We find the cells mid-combat. A PC and NPC rush in to free them. Gnome Artificer fire bolts captured PC's Gnome Wizard, cell door lock, and unbinds/ungags him. Gnome Wizard then attempts to do the same, rolls a 1, and sets the straw in the cell on fire, causing the cell block to fill with smoke and them taking poison damage each round. Gnome Artificer's turn comes up, and again, he tries to firebolt. Again, another 1. Another cell straw gets set on fire, and poison damage is increased. Meanwhile, we are still fighting outside the cell block. Artificer tries to Ray of Frost one of the fires, with some success. Finally, NPC Halfling Rogue comes in and cracks the door open for them to escape. After we finish combat, we find a key on one of the guards, making that whole endeavor useless. Oh, and our human paladin is afraid of fire now. Update, we now have a ship and we called it the Fire Hazard. One time I had a severe wound near my eyebrow arch and the party was busy with the gold we looted, so they left me near a fire. I tried to stop the bleeding by burning my face. It did not go well, and my character was now disfigured and blind with one eye. The scar was badass though. There was a more awesome one who ended nicer. Another one of my characters who was burned severely. We entered the lair of a very ancient dragon. While the DM made us understand how dangerous it would be to stay here any longer, I tried to loot a mysterious sword near the dragon's head. I got a nat 20 on stealth to grab the sword. Unfortunately, I ended up waking him when I walked out. He simply breathed and I was reduced to 0 HP. My party pulled some crazy stunts, and with the help of some of nat 20s, we escaped. I also got out of this one with badass scars, but this time I had a very powerful sword. So, yesterday, my level 3 party were fighting some orcs. The party is fairly large, so it was kind of a clusterfuck trying to keep track of everything. So, one of my party members has this fire spirit or elemental or something like that he uses as a familiar. Looks like a spider. So this thing is in the middle of everything, and one of the party's casters decide to use this dark fire AoE spell and use the fire spider as a focus. Took us 15-ish minutes to calculate damage, killed over half the orcs because she rolled high, and also nearly killed the fighter as well as damaging the barbarian. Kinda new to me playing D&D, used to help with world building so combat specifics are pretty much unknown to me. I don't know if this is normal, but it was certainly something. I'll keep it short. I am a dragonborn rogue who likes to use random items from my bag to help in combat. So I took a flask of oil and lit tinder to make a somewhat firebomb. I ended up melting or burning 5 goblins. Then, a few sessions later, a group of goblins are running from us and straight towards where I burnt their friends. They all stop in the doorway. They are stunned. They look behind them and look back to the room, wondering which is worse. A 7-foot-tall warforged paladin, or walking through the melted remains of their friends. After that day, I was known as the Goblin Melter. This went badly though when we tried to side with and help the new goblin leader, who technically we put into power. They were not happy when they got wind of the nickname and what I have done. I DM'd a group, 2nd edition, where one of the players bought some Greek fire as starting equipment. Early on, they stopped at the local druid's house. There were 2 druid sisters there, and were warned about how quickly it could spread and the damage it could do. They ended up chasing a person of interest to a grassy field, and that player threw a vial of Greek fire. The POI escaped, and then they had to deal with the fire. The stronger of the 2 druids showed up to help and scolded them for being reckless. Sadly, the group didn't last very long. Life got in the way, and people stopped showing up. It was fun while it lasted. My parties have the horrific and hilarious habit of accidentally setting fire to orphanages. I don't know, no. From Nat 1's bad information gained from maligned sources being in the wrong area of a city at just the perfect moment, to one character turning into a werewolf within 100 feet of the place. I just assume that whenever they come across the orphanage, be it by happenstance, bad rolls, or something entirely different, that it will inevitably end with the orphanage going up in flames or destroyed. Currently playing a Fire Genasi Barbarian in Icewind Dale. So far, this has only been a good thing. considering the circumstances of the campaign, but I'm hoping for some spicy disaster soon. When she enters rage mode, her hair bursts into flame and she's got a hair-trigger temper and strong ideals. Her body is covered in burn scars from previous incidents. The only story with fire I have to tell is when we fought 2 undead frost giants, keyword being undead. I got an item called Glove of Scorching Rays 2 campaigns earlier, and I use it in a finger pistol style of attack. Anyway, we were in this fight for 2 rounds. Me, a wizard, a monk, a bard, a barbarian, and a guide we hired to navigate through the frozen wastes, who actually was a ranger. Our monk just took down one of the giants, so I decided to use my finger pistol of Scorching Rays. DM asked me to make 3 attack rolls. 2 of them were nat 20s, and our DM has customized the critical hit roll, which means that on a nat 20, one deals the maximum damage possible, plus the dice roll. In the end, after some calculation, I dealt 92 fire damage. The giants were vulnerable to fire damage, and it was enough to melt him right away, since he was already somewhat damaged. While DMing a Pathfinder game, my players tried to climb a tower taken over by goblins. The goblins on the 2nd floor smashed a barrel of oil on the stairs and set it on fire. The barbarian tried to put out the fire by decapitating a dead goblin and pouring out its blood. Smokey the Bear would be proud. He was basically shaking his dead body like a stubborn ketchup bottle. Between the uselessness of trying to sprinkle goblin blood and the natural burning away of the oil, it took an hour to put out the fire. The druid was outside comforting one of the goblin's surviving victims. The druid could cast Create Water as a cantrip. She did it every day to nurture her living thorn armor. It did not occur to any of them until after a 2nd barrel of oil completely burned out on a 2nd staircase after another hour of siege. Good times, man, good times. This wasn't D&D, but it was the Cypher System's Gods of the Fall setting. My sister was playing our healer, Rylara, and the dice had not exactly gone in her favor when it came to attacks over the course of the campaign. But this being my sister's first campaign, she was determined to prove herself. At one point, 2 of our players, our artificer type, Eris, and our fighter, Crom, were fighting a group of corrupt guards on top of a wall. My sister was bummed when it came to her turn and there was nothing she could do, until she remembered that she had a bottle of alcohol, a rag, and a match. Yep, Rylara quickly made an old-fashioned Molotov cocktail and hurled it over the wall. One clattering of dice later, it hits the ground. Now it's time for the guards to save, and they all succeed. But wait, now Eris and Crom have to save as well. Another clattering of dice later, and both of our allies are partially on fire. Even though she's since played many campaigns, healed many allies, and slain many enemies, she has never stopped mentioning how her very first attack that landed in any campaign was against her allies. Hey everyone, Brian here checking in after the vid. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you can get notified when we post a new video or go live. If you have a story you'd like to submit to us, feel free to do so on our subreddit r/MrRipper. Also, be sure to follow us on Twitter and Twitch for more updates and fun goodies too. Using a help action, come say hi to me, Brian Von VA, over on YouTube, where I stream games, talk voice actor shop, and voice your D&D characters. As always, I try to end things on a positive note, and today is a little bit different, and I hope MrRipper keeps this in. Sticking to the theme of fire in D&D, I'd like to tell you guys and gals out there a short and kind of funny little story, I suppose you could say. While my girlfriend has never played Dungeons & Dragons in her life, she has a strong affinity to fire. If you give her a match in any video game, or a flint and steel, or a lighter, or anything like a flamethrower, God forbid she's playing with other people, because the whole map, the whole area, everything that you see and love and know that's really dear to your heart will be on fire within minutes, if not seconds. I guess you could say she's a little pyromaniac, but at the same time, it's kind of scary, because if you're trying to chop down wood in a video game with her, she will light the entire forest on fire and just cackle and laugh as everything burns down around you. So I'm very much looking forward to actually playing D&D with her, because if she ever gets her hand on anything fireball or burning hands related, we're all going to go up in smoke, and it's going to be great to watch. Anyway, I thought I'd go ahead and pop in here with something a little bit different that might make you guys laugh a little bit because I'm literally dating somebody who's completely insane and likes to burn shit. That being said, everybody, all the love. I hope you guys and gals stay safe out there. We will see you next time. Bye for now.